Very well. Now, to make our character look a little bit more like a plague doctor and less like a ninja, we're going to be adding a tabard. And the tabard is this very interesting piece of fabric that just goes over the front. And I feel like it really works with what we're trying to achieve, which is a doctor that's going to be changing the tabard more frequently, right? Now, I do want to have this sort of interesting spiked tabard with a couple of openings and things just to add more, a more interesting effect to the whole character. So in order to do that, one of the things I'm going to do is I did change to normal again, to normal simulation, just because I want to make sure that these things are working properly. And once you're happy with the piece of fabric, for instance, I know that all of these pieces right here, oh, not that one. Let's select this, guys. I know that all of these pieces right here, except for the belt, which we're going to be using the felt, all of these guys are good. Like they're ready. We don't need to do anything. Same for the pants. We don't need to do anything. Even the mask, I think we're already in a good position. So just Control K, just freeze it. I know it looks weird, and I know this is one of those things that that some of my students are like, oh, I hate seeing my character like this because it looks very nice when you have the proper colors. I know, but every now and then you're gonna have to just say, this is ready. I'm not gonna modify it anymore or any longer. Maybe at the end, and rather than be having an issue with the simulations, I'm just gonna leave it like it is. I will keep the mask on. The reason why we need the mask on is because I want the tabard to be on top of the mask and creating a little bit of pressure on the neck side of things. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to go over here to the character and let's create the very basic shape of the tabard. So I'm going to go to polygon. I'm going to start in the center. Go out. I do want to have this sort of broad shoulder. And usually tabards are quite big because they kind of bundle up. Maybe not that much. So I'm going to go right around there. And then here. In. And then roughly, let's take a look at the reference. Yeah, it's roughly to the crotch area. So right around there on the crotch area. And then we go up. There we go. So that's going to be one side of the tabard. I'm going to select this edge right here. Right click, and we're going to unfold. And that's going to give me the other side of the tabard. Just like a flipped selection, right? Now, in order to create the hole for the tabard, I'm going to use an internal ellipse. I'm going to start right there, press Control and Shift. Sorry, Control and Shift, and that's going to give me the proper opening. So it's going to be, I would say, roughly around there. I'm going to select this new pattern that we created there, right-click, this guy's especially, right-click, and cut and sew. And this is going to cut out. It's pretty much like if we're using booleans to remove a piece of the fabric right there. Now, this one, of course, I am going to Control-C, Control-B. It's going to be the back side of the tabard. And this one right here is going to be on the back. Now, technically, this one we can make symmetrical pattern with sewing, and that might be a good idea. So I can just select both of this, right click, and just symmetric pattern. Actually, I'm not gonna do symmetric pattern with sewing. I'm just gonna do symmetric pattern, which what this will do is it will actually, let's just connect them. We're gonna symmetric apply linked editing symmetric pattern. There we go. So now they're connected, even though we're not gonna be sewing each other together because we just need to sew the top part, right? So we're going to go here to my little segment sew. We're going to sew from here to here and from here to here. But whatever I do to one side of the pattern is going to affect both sides of the pattern. Now, this is where we need to be very careful because as you remember, the mask already has a layer of 1. So that means that the tabard is going to have a layer of 2. We want this to be on top of the mask. So the layer is going to be 2. But the belt, if you remember, needs to be on top of everything else. As you can see, I've already changed this to layer 3. So this thing is on top of everything else. And now if we simulate, technically, since all of the other things are frozen, the simulation shouldn't be as slow. So we should have a good result right here. There we go. You can see how this thing is starting to go on top of the rest of the pattern. Same for the belt. So let me pause my computer real quick. I'm going to wait for the simulation to finish and I'll show you. Very well. So as you can see, this thing is still dancing a little bit around. One thing that I did to speed up the elements is I changed the simulation back to GPU. So we're going to be jumping back and forth between the two because as you can see right here, it's very useful to be able to change from one to the other. Now, I do think I like where the mask is. So it kind of feels like good to have it hanging on top of the element. It just adds an extra layer to the whole thing. We're going to have the cape eventually, like the leather cape. So that's going to definitely change some of the things. So I'm going to stop the simulation and I'm going to just do a very quick thing. This one's now going to be layer 4. This one's going to be layer 2. And the mask itself, all of the mask patterns are going to be layer 3. Okay, so this is pretty much, I'm going to be telling the software that I want the mask fabric to be on top of the the tabard. So let's just utilize. Again, remember that there's going to be a little bit of like weird artifacts and overlaps at this point. Very, very normal because we're using GPU. Accommodate the mask a little bit better there. And on the next video, by the way, we're going to be bringing in a very basic like a preview of the final like leather mask that I've been creating. I've mentioned this before. Those videos for the mask creation, they're available for free on the YouTube channel. So it's kind of like a bonus chapter if you want to see it. But we do use other software, so we're not covering just Marvel Designers. There's a little bit of ZBrush, there's a little bit of Blender. So yeah. Cool. So this looks good. I like the overall effect. As you can see, we're getting a nice effect. I think this opening right here is way, way, way too low. I would probably like at least the front one to be a little bit bigger or longer. So I'm going to go back here to transform point segments. And this point right here, I'm going to move it up all the way to, yeah, roughly around there. There we go. Now, I love the layering that we're creating here. It looks very, very nice. But of course, this pattern, this tabard right now looks very, very dull, right? If we compare it to these things, one of the elements that really helps is having this sort of like internal line, getting a nice border and a nice little difference on the effect. Rather than just like a very boring cosplay thing, it makes it look just like more complete, right? So that's the next thing that we're going to do. We're going to go to the elements right here. And again, usually the tabards, this sort of like tabards were made as a single piece. So even though here inside of Marvelous, we're doing two pieces to make it easier to simulate and everything, in real life, we would probably be using like a single piece. So we got to be very smart on how we create this pattern. So let's stop the simulation. And I'm going to grab this, all of these elements right here. All of the internal lines. Remember that we have symmetrical or linked editing, so it's going to happen on both sides. And this guy's right here, but not the ones on the top. This is very important because here we're going to do an offset as internal line. It's going to be quite big. It's probably like 50 millimeters. Yeah, that looks good. I'm going to hit OK. And as you can see, we get this very, very nice patterns. Now over here, we need to decide on the reference. As you can see, they created this very nice like rhomboid shape. So let's go with something like that. We're going to go with internal polygon lines. We're going to go to this line right here, to the center, and then down right there. Hit enter. As you can see, this creates internal lines for the whole thing. Now we're going to grab this line right here. I'm going to right click and we are going to split this. So we're going to grab all of these lines right here, as we've done before. All of these lines, which is happening on both sides, right? And just right click and cut and sew. There we go. Fill the cell element must form one continuous line. Okay, that's important. If it's asking you to do one continuous line, then that probably means that we're going to have to do this as separate elements. So let's cut and sew that first. There we go. Should happen on the same side over there. And then over here, all of this should be a single continuous line as well. And so, okay, if that happens, I'm just gonna right click and I'm gonna extrude and add point to pattern outline. We are gonna get some extra lines. That's fine. We're gonna ignore them for now. We do need those in order to get the continuous line. There we go. Now, as you can see, we get all of these lines. Now, we did get an extra cut right here. I don't want this cut, so I'm just gonna grab both of those guys and just merge. There we go. And let's just make sure that this pattern is, yeah, it's just missing this one over here. Again, these two guys, we merge. Same for the inside of the tabard. These two guys, we merge. Well, this point, we need to make it a point. So extend trim that point to pattern outline. There we go. So that we can select these two lines only and merge. And same for this one. So we just grab that line, right click, extend and trim that point to pattern outline, and we grab these two guys and we merge. There we go. So now, ideally, we should have the internal part of the tabard. Again, we got those extra lines, and now since those lines are no longer needed, we can actually delete them, and it's going to be the same thing. And we got the trims for the pattern as well. For whatever reason, it didn't apply on this side, so let's very quickly do that. Right click, extend and trim to a pattern outline. We merge these two guys. Right click and merge. This ones we also merge. I wish we had like a shortcut to repeat the last action. That would be a really handy tool. There we go. So Again, just to keep things a little bit cleaner, I'm gonna move my patterns up here. Don't worry, we just get this up here. The same thing, just grab this one, and merge. There we go. And this internal lines we no longer need, so we just delete. We're gonna be left with the points, of course. It's kind of weird coming from a 3D background where angons are super like frowned upon, and then getting to this point where it's like, yeah, it doesn't matter, just have a lot of points and make things look nice. Cool. So now, again, if we simulate, like nothing's really gonna change. It seems like we're just missing a stitching, stitching right there. Fairly simple to fix. I'm actually gonna fix it over here. So I'm just gonna go to segment sewing. It's gonna be from there to there and from there to there. And I'm guessing on the back, we're going to have a similar problem. So from here to here and from here to here. Perfect. So now we simulate, and that's going to give us a nice trim for the whole tabard. Now on this thing, of course, what we're going to do to add more detail is we're going to grab all of these pieces right here, right click, and we're going to do a layer clone under, in this case, under. And then this guy's right here. Gonna make them a little bit, again, remove the pattern. Once we do that, we can remove the linked editing. There we go. And all of this, guys, we're gonna make them a little bit bigger, a little bit more. I do want to have a lot of detail on this tabard. And I'm gonna change the particle distance to something like a 5 on the upper one, right? Because that's the one that we're gonna be seeing the most. So that when we simulate, what we're gonna see, or we should see, is as a nicer, as you can see, puffier, more wrinkles on the side of the border right there. So that's it. We get a very nice tabard here for a character. It's like it's got a nice size right there. I think we can make the belt a little bit more intense, but again, when we do the CPU thing, I'm pretty sure that we're going to be changing a couple of things over there. But you can see how now the puffiness of the tabard makes the whole thing look just a tad bit more more professional. I really like the cape that we have right here. This effect. Trying to get it to cover the whole hole. But this is looking quite nice. Yeah, there we go. So now we got the tabard. Still looks like a ninja. The mask is gonna do the whole thing, I think, and of course the gloves and everything. But yeah, we got the tabard ready. As you can see, we added this extra internal lines and all of this puffiness around the character. So I'm gonna stop the video right here, guys. And in the next one, we're gonna talk about the export import, because again, we're gonna bring the mask so that we can start thinking about the cape, because I do want the cape to cover a little bit of the mask. So hang on tight, and I'll see you back on the next one.